I'm Paul Godfrey. Welcome to Commercial Champions, brought to you courtesy of the English Business Council. What is the nature of entrepreneurship? This is a question that I'm sure many people would love to know the answer to. Well, in the next series of interviews, we're going to meet people who have, in one way or another, become an entrepreneurial success. They're all people who share what I best call a certain factor X. Now, they didn't all start from great beginnings. Some of them have quite humble origins, but they've all, through dint of willpower, determination, or perhaps just pure good luck, achieved greatness in one way or another. And they're all people who have become champions of entrepreneurship. I think you're going to enjoy this series very much. You're most warmly welcome. And I think you're going to discover something very critical about the nature of entrepreneurship and just what a catalyst that moment of arrival here in the UAE can become. Welcome.
My name is Phil Bedford, and I'm known as the Rebel Networker, and I help entrepreneurs to live more and earn more now.
First things first, when did you arrive in the UAE?
Late 1998, I arrived in the UAE.
Did a job bring you here, or did you come looking for work?
I'd actually come out to Dubai on a holiday previously, and I'd been driving in the desert. I met a gentleman as we were pumping up the tyres, as you do at the end, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm working in the UK, I'm a little bit bored." He said, "Why don't you just come out and have a look at what I do?" And he had an exhibition stands company. So I had a look around the company and went home at the end of my holiday. And a couple of weeks later, he chased me up and said, "You know what, fancy a job?" So that's kind of what brought me out. Dead man's boots in the UK, nothing happening. I was bored, so I just threw it all in and came out.
What was your first week in the UAE like? Where did you stay?
I think the most memorable experience in my first week had to be walking out of my bedroom. So my boss at the time lent me his villa, he was away, so I was basically villa sitting. And I'll never forget getting up, getting out the ACs, really nice. And then I opened the door from the bedroom and just went whack. And it was the heat hit me from the rest of the villa. And I think that was welcome to Dubai.
So tell me, what is the single biggest change that you've seen in the UAE since then?
Biggest change? Do you know, I think it's more a sharpening up of services, I'd say. You used to go to a government office, for example, and there was kind of a quaintness about, sitting in a queue and having to wait and missing your place. Absolutely. And I think the biggest change has been in the efficiencies that have been, you particularly see, I think, in those government entities, particularly now moving it online, getting things done quickly. So while it was quaint and it was interesting in the early days, it was very frustrating. And I think now it's much more of a machine and quite respectable. They've done a great job.
Can you summarise the career path you've had since? For instance, was there any critical moment that changed your professional life forever?
I originally came out with a job offer, so working in the exhibition industry. And at the time, my goal was to become a manager. And I was about 25 at the time, and I said, okay, if I'm not a manager in the next 3 years, I'm going to go home. And my first pivotal experience was realizing that the wage I'd accepted wasn't actually a lot of money. At the time, it was about 6,000 dirhams, and I couldn't live on that. And I was pretty foolish. I was so excited about coming out. I hadn't done the financial conversion. And so immediately, I started teaching salsa in the evenings, really to enhance my income, because I'd already been teaching. And I was very lucky my boss gave me the permission to do that. And it's very forward thinking. He realized, even back then, that me out there networking at salsa was bringing in business. So very forward thinking boss. Went out and did that, and that launched me off into the road to entrepreneurship. And it went from doing salsa to opening a kite surfing business to teaching kite surfing, and a slow transition into actually working for myself full time.
Can you describe your current business and what it does in one sentence?
Entrepreneurial development and very rewarding.
What is the most important lesson you've learned along the way?
Be around the right people and don't always try and be right. And even those that don't look like they know. At the end of the day, I think everyone can teach us something. Yeah. I was just telling the story to my mother just today, who's out in Dubai. And there was a gentleman used to wash my car outside the Bridges Plaza Hotel.
Yeah.
I used to park up. He would put a dirham in the machine to get the parking ticket, walk it across the car park to me, give me the ticket, and of course I'd give him a dirham. And then he'd say, "Sir, can I wash your car?" And of course, what am I going to say? Of course. Absolutely. And I'm thinking, that is entrepreneurism. That is positive, because he's leveraging human reciprocity, he's leveraging a whole lot. And that's a great lesson from someone that it would be very easy to ignore.
How important has networking been to your success, and has it provided you with business opportunities? Can you tell us about your interaction with different groups and organisations here in the UAE?
Every opportunity I've ever had has come through somebody I've been around. And while that might sound like a cliche, it's absolutely the case. But the secret, of course, I learned long ago is it's not a secret. Nothing's going to happen if you're sitting at home in your cave. Absolutely. You need to be out around people, you need to be investing in those relationships, and you need to be, really amongst them and see them regularly. Otherwise you have no relationship. No one ever wants to help you, and opportunities don't happen. And unfortunately, a lot of people, really, they're very insular. They may think they're around people, but they're not. So from the newer ones, which obviously come with a lot of credibility, like the English Business Council, just give you a pun there, a bit of a push. To the BBG, been around for years and years, to other ones like the BNI, and ones that people wouldn't think about, like my salsa community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this is the thing, I don't think a lot of people recognise that so many communities here aren't what you'd consider as networks. Yeah. Your family, your fellow patriots, these are all networks, and I think people tend to think networking has to have a networking sign over it saying networking group.
So tell me, has working in the Middle East been good for you, and do you intend to stay here?
Absolutely, I love the Middle East. It's been fantastic for me. Like I said to you before, I came out with one expectation for my life, which was really just in terms of being a manager, and now I've been able to impact thousands of people. I can stand on a stage. I've got a business all around the GCC, South India. I've spoken in 10 countries around the world. I've got a TV show. So I never expected to be where I am today. So that I have to put down to, this region really, and taking the risk to be here in the early days. Do I intend to stay here? Certainly for the foreseeable future. I think there's still a lot of exciting things happening.